Hi, my name is Philip Bloom. Welcome to my lair. This is Noodle, who's popped along to make a little cameo appearance in this, the review of the Sony FS700. Sony Europe were kind enough to loan me the FS700 for a few days to assess. Now, it is a pre-production version, so take that into account when looking at the images. They're saying to me it's about 90% representative of the final product. It's only been a year or so since the FS100 came out, and if you bought that camera, you may be going, no, it's been replaced already? It hasn't been replaced. This is more of an upgrade. It has loads of new features, a lot in common with the 100, but it's definitely a step up. I myself own an FS100 and it is a very powerful camera, probably the best bang for buck in the Super 35mm camcorder market, but it is far from perfect. There's lots of issues I don't like about it and other people don't like about it, but the image that comes from the camera is fantastic. So what does the 700 offer you that's going to tempt you away from your beloved 100? Well, it's got a bit of a different body to it, so a little bit chunkier, so for the guys perhaps a little bit more up top, and for ladies a little bit more down below, but for both of you it has some really cool party tricks. So why is it chunkier? For a very simple reason, something that I really missed on the FS100, and that is ND filters. We now have a built-in ND filter wheel. That's why it's bigger up front, but I'd rather have it bigger up front and have that feature. The implementation of the ND is a little bit clunky though. It's not that super solid. It's not as sleek as, say, a C300, and it's not as nice and neat as, say, an actual filter wheel like you have on the AF100. To be honest with you, it's a little bit plasticky, but it works, and having it on the camera is an absolute godsend. Are you 4K ready? Bert, are you 4K ready? I'm not 4K ready myself. I don't have any 4K screens or anything else like that, but this camera is 4K ready. What does that mean? Basically, the camera can output a 4K native resolution out of the new 3G SDI connector at the back. It will need a dedicated recorder though. It will not record 4K internally, that will still be HD. When the camera goes on sale, it won't have the 4K feature enabled. That will be a firmware upgrade. And the camera that I used for my evaluation didn't have that feature in it. So just how good is the 4K? I haven't seen it, so I can't tell you. The FS700's key party trick is the super slow motion recording, the high frame rates. Whereas the FS100 can shoot up to 60 frames per second continuously, in burst modes the FS700 can shoot up to 240 frames per second in full HD. So the implementation of the super slow motion is actually really cool. It has its quirks, but for this price bracket to have these high frame rates is really quite astonishing. So to show you just how fun and cool the slow motion can make even the most ordinary mundane things look, I'm just going to get my mum to clean a window and film it and hopefully make it look really cool. There, where my finger is? Yeah. So just above that there. Yeah. Got it?
And then I wipe as soon as I spray.
Yeah. Go. Great. And spray. Pull up. Fire. Raise. Fire. Great. And go. More, more, more. Squeeze it, more. That's it, great. Great. Great way to spend the birthday. Mum's just told me she's using Dad's old underpants to wash the windows. I wonder if he knows. Gross. Yeah, I am overcompensating somewhat with this Canon 100 to 400mm lens, but I love this lens because it's great for doing what I call sniper shots, getting detailed things of like a seagull over there or somebody over there on a canoe. I'm down at Brighton Beach and I love filming here because it's just so colourful, so much going on. We have the water, we have basketball and the promenade. I've filmed here countless times over the past 20 odd years, but I've never shot proper slow motion down here. 60 frames, yeah, but not what I'm doing today. 240 frames per second, everything that's cool in slow motion, right? Well, everybody's going to be shooting crazy slow motion when they get their FS700, so I may as well get mine out there first. Here's Brighton Beach in slow-mo.
Happy days are coming my way. 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 So sang its funeral dirge. The morning comes and brings new birth. Happy days are coming my way. Happy days are coming my way.
When recording in super slow motion mode, it records to a buffer, it doesn't record in real time, and how long it records for depends on the frame rate you're shooting at. So in 240 frames per second mode, which is what I'm shooting at in 24p, which is as high as this camera currently goes before it halves or quarters the resolution, it will record roughly about 8.5 to 9 seconds to the buffer. Then it has to write that to the SD card. It doesn't take 8 or 9 seconds because it then has to play it back. But fortunately, it doesn't play it back at the true real time because at 240 frames per second at around 9 seconds, it's going to equate to roughly 90 seconds of footage. That's quite a lot, which means every time you hit record, it's going to take 90 seconds to then write it, which is going to be really painful. It's about 3 times faster, so it takes around 30 seconds to write that 90 seconds of footage. So as it isn't recording continuously, you've got to pick your moments exactly right. So that 9 seconds is crucial. Now, if you record it and you don't like it, and as it's writing to the card, you can press cancel and stop. There's 3 different ways you can trigger that buffer to start recording the slow motion. The first way is the traditional way, and it's the start trigger. Basically, you hit record, it captures what it sees for the 9 seconds or so, and then will save to the actual card. Then there is the end trigger method, which basically means it's continually capturing information to the buffer, and then when you hit record, it will save that previous 9 seconds to the card. And then finally, there's the half end trigger mode, which is like the end trigger where it is saving the information constantly and you say when to save it. With that half mode, it just saves the previous 4.5 seconds. There are higher frame rates that you can shoot at, but they do drop in resolution. So 240 at 24p is really the highest you should go. And if you're recording 25p, that's 200 frames per second. The high frame rates drop resolution. 480 frames per second halves the vertical resolution. And if you go to 960, it's a quarter of the vertical resolution. So you're losing a lot. So really, just keep to the full HD resolution and it looks really nice. This is a perfect example of when you choose to use the end trigger system. I'm currently focused on the end of the 400mm lens on a flock of seagulls on the actual beach, and I'm waiting for them to take off. Rather than keep pressing and hope they're going to take off in that 9 seconds, I'm going to wait, and once they've taken off, I'm going to hit the save button. Simple as that. Nice feature I've just discovered is when the camera is recording that buffered footage to the card, it takes about 30 seconds, and as it's going in there, you can press cancel and it will close off the file up until that point and save the bit that it's already written. You don't lose the whole thing. And it's great because you can find it's just the beginning of that shot you wanted to keep and the rest of it was just junk, and you don't have to save the whole thing. Saving you time means you can move on to the next shot. So what's interesting on the slow motion is the 480 doesn't crop the sensor, whereas the 960 does. And actually it's not too bad. Yeah, it is half the resolution vertically, but in certain circumstances, as long as you have a fair amount of light, it's usable. Downside, it takes twice as long to record to the card, so you need to be patient. A bit more towards the sea. There, that's it there. That'd be cool. I like that one. I really need a wee now. You must be needing a wee too. Do you need a wee? news training, you should learn about bladder control. Standing on a doorstep for 12 hours and no chance to go to the toilet, no matter how desperate you need to go. Bro. Filming at high frame rate, super slow motion is so much fun. Yeah, we're going to see a lot more of it soon, but it is an absolute blast to do. The most ordinary thing looks really, really cool. The one thing you need though is light. It's now 9 o'clock at night, the sun's gone down. We can't cope with artificial light with high shutter speeds, so really, that's it from Brighton. That's it for part 1. I hope you enjoyed it. Join me for part 2 where I analyse the camera's pros and cons in depth, check out the low light performance, look into the image detail a little bit closer, and are the party tricks and the 4K ready and the ND filters worth the extra money over the FS100. See you then. So that's it from me, from my lair, with Percy this time. Percy, do you want one? You want 2? Why? 3D? 3D? We don't need 3D, do we? See ya.